For today's video, I'm going to show you the best hero for farming materials and resources after patch 5.0, and towards the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to farm nuts and bolts, bacon, malachite, obsidian and shadowshard, as well as brightcore and sunbeam. But first, I want to explain why Striker AC is currently the best hero for farming. Alright, so for those who haven't noticed, there were quite a few changes made to hero abilities in the last patch, and Striker AC had some of his abilities rebalanced. And I consider him to be the best hero for farming because of these changes. Now don't get me wrong, the Pathfinder is still a really good Outlander for farming because the Pathfinder has that Diamond Llama perk, which helps you get more crystals and ore from your loot llama. And Striker AC doesn't have that Diamond Llama perk, but I do think he's better at farming when it comes to everything else, like mechanical parts, mineral powder, nuts and bolts, wood, stone, metal, basically everything except ores and crystals. And this is our first time doing a review of Striker AC, so I am going to go ahead and run through his perks really quick. His three main abilities are Anti-Material Charge, Teddy, and Phase Shift. He also has Focused Acquisition, as well as the Loot Llama. And he also has Strike Cost, which reduces the cost of Anti-Material Charge, so it won't cost as much energy. And this is one of the abilities that was rebalanced in the last patch. He also has Fist of the Moon, which reduces the cooldown of Anti-Material Charge by 5 seconds. And this was also rebalanced. He also has In the Zone, as well as Structural Strike, which is whenever you deal damage to a structure using Anti-Material Charge, you're going to get 6 stamina back, and it's also going to reduce the cooldown for Anti-Material Charge by 3 seconds. This is another perk that was rebalanced, and this is one of the main reasons why I consider Striker AC to be the best farming hero. He also has Long Arm of the Law, which increases the travel distance of Anti-Material Charge by 1.5 tiles. He also has Charged Fist, which allows you to charge up your Anti-Material Charge by holding down the activation button, and that's going to make your Anti-Material Charge do more damage. He also has Iron Knuckles, which increases the damage of Anti-Material Charge by an additional 150% against enemies, and this Iron Knuckles perk actually does more damage now than it did before patch 5.0. And he also has Kinetic Punch, which increases the impact of Anti-Material Charge by 100%, and it also increases the knockback against large enemies. And at the very bottom it says uses Anti-Material Charge to harvest rapidly and smack around enemies during combat. And he also has a support squad bonus called Punchy, which is going to increase your blunt weapon damage and impact. And he also has a tactical squad bonus called China Shop, which makes Constructor's Bull Rush do damage to non-friendly buildings. And when it comes to farming, I haven't really changed anything in regards to my squad bonuses. I still use the Pathfinder in my support slot to increase the damage done by my pickaxe, and I still use the Gunblazer Outlander in my tactical slot, so my loot llamas can drop ammo. Anyways, now I'm going to show you some examples of his perks, and explain why I believe he's the best hero for farming materials and resources. And the main ability we're going to be taking a look at is his Anti-Material Charge. But first I want to compare the cooldown of his abilities with the Pathfinder's. The cooldown for his Phase Shift is around 8 seconds. And the cooldown for the Pathfinder's Phase Shift is also 8 seconds. And they both have a total of 3 phase shifts. So there are no real differences between their phase shifts. And there also aren't any differences in terms of their Teddy. They both have a cooldown of 1 minute if they throw down their Teddy without a charged fragment, and both of their Teddies have a cooldown of 42 seconds if they use it with a charged fragment. So both of those abilities are pretty much the same. One ability that the Pathfinder has that Striker AC does not is the Keen Eyes perk, which allows you to see loot through walls. And the way you trigger the Keen Eyes perk is by going in the zone or getting 5 hits with your pickaxe. And not only do they get Keen Eyes when they go in the zone, they also run faster and do more damage with their pickaxe. So when it comes to being in the zone, the Pathfinder is definitely better, but when it comes to the Anti-Material Charge, Striker AC is the best. The cooldown for his Anti-Material Charge is around 7 seconds when you don't destroy a non-player built structure. So if you're punching enemies, for example, and you don't destroy anything else, it's going to take 7 seconds for your Anti-Material Charge to cool down. But if you do destroy something with your Anti-Material Charge, like a tree, a wall, or anything that can give materials, the cooldown's only going to be 4 seconds. And the reason that is because of that structural strike perk. And obviously destroying stuff with your anti-material charge is a lot faster than destroying stuff with your pickaxe. Meanwhile, the cooldown for the Pathfinder's anti-material charge is 12 seconds. So really there's no comparison there. You can destroy 3 times as many items compared to the Pathfinder if you were just using your anti-material charge. Also keep in mind that his anti-material charge has a longer distance than the Pathfinder's. Striker AC's anti-material charge has a distance of over 2 tiles, while the Pathfinder's distance is only 1 tile. Although you can destroy multiple objects if you're playing with the Pathfinder, it's definitely easier to destroy more objects using Striker AC's anti-material charge because of that increased distance. So not only are you going to be able to punch stuff faster, but you'll also be able to punch more stuff with every use of your anti-material charge. I also noticed that whenever I used my anti-material charge and then tried to use my pickaxe directly afterwards, the anti-material charge usually finishes cooling down before I can finish destroying the next structure with a pickaxe. So if you do plan on playing with Striker AC, I'd recommend that you just ignore using your pickaxe altogether, unless it's something that can easily be destroyed by your pickaxe, like parking meters. If it requires more than 3 or 4 hits, you'd probably be better off just waiting for your anti-material charge to finish cooling down. And like I mentioned earlier, this anti-material charge is the main reason I consider Striker AC to be the best farming hero. But yeah, I didn't really use Striker AC that much before this last patch, but it definitely seems like his punch deals more damage now than it did before. It also seems like it knocks back mist monsters more often than not. And what you're looking at here is me using both versions of his anti-material charge. We used the regular punch, and then we also used the charged version. And it is kind of hard to see the damage numbers, but I did notice that we did over 103,000 damage with the charged punch against this level 100 Nature Smasher. So if you do plan on using your anti-material charge against Husk, you're going to want to hold down the button that uses your anti-material charge in order to charge it, and that's going to help you do more damage. And as you can see here, we were able to kill a level 100 Fire Smasher just using our anti-material charge. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over in regards to Striker AC. I also wanted to explain how to farm every type of material and resource. Every zone predominantly gives one type of material. So in Stonewood, for example, it gives mostly rough mineral powder, stringy twine, copper ore, as well as rusty mechanical parts. And in Plankerton, it mostly gives simple mineral powder, simple twine, silver ore, as well as simple mechanical parts. When it comes to Canny Valley, you're going to get fine-grained mineral powder, sturdy twine, malachite ore, and sturdy mechanical parts. And with Twine Peaks, you're going to get charred black mineral powder, peaky twine, obsidian ore, sleek mechanical parts. And here's where they introduce a new resource that's a crystal called shadowshard. A couple of things I should mention is that technically you can get the next zone's materials from high level missions in your current zone. So in Canny Valley, for example, if you do some level 70 missions, you may be able to get some sleek as well as charred black, but I would not recommend farming those materials that way because you don't get them that often, and it's a lot easier to find those materials in Twine Peaks. But yeah, technically it is possible to get the next zone materials in your current zone, but it would take you forever to farm those items if you tried to do it that way, which is why I would recommend that you go ahead and farm the materials in the correct zone. Same thing is true for Twine Peaks. If you're trying to get 5-star materials like oxidized mineral powder, carved twine, brightcore ore, efficient mechanical parts, or sunbeam crystal, then you want to go to the high level missions that are in Twine Peaks. The supply drop gadget will occasionally drop some next zone materials. You can also get materials from expeditions, and I believe the red toolboxes are the best ones to do. You can also find some of these materials by searching through containers around the map. And I guess the last thing I should point out is that you want to try to not evolve your weapons and traps until you get to the appropriate zone. Because if you evolve them too early, you're not going to have enough materials to craft them consistently. And yeah, that sums up which zones these resources are located in. Next thing I want to point out is how to farm each of these resources. For items like mechanical parts and metal, you're going to want to destroy cars in suburbs, city zones, and industrial parks. When it comes to items like stone and mineral powder, you're going to want to destroy rocks. And I don't believe it matters which zone you do that in. And when it comes to planks, twine, and wood, obviously you're going to want to destroy trees. But there's also a few other ways you can farm these materials. One way is by doing side missions. You can either do encampments, build the radars, blue glow siphons, anomalies, shadow orbs, and you can also rescue random survivors around the map, like the ones that are standing on cars, running away from Husk, or build the relays. And all of these side missions will show the reward that they give, except for the rescue the survivor side missions. So if you look above an encampment, radar, blue glow siphon, anomaly, or shadow orb, you'll see a little symbol that looks like this. And this is going to tell you what type of material that this side mission rewards. So for the ones that have like a log, they're going to give wood, as well as planks and twine. For the ones that have a brick symbol, they're going to give brick, obviously, as well as rough ore and mineral powder, like charred black, oxidized. Some side missions will also have a little metal symbol, and they'll usually give metal, nuts and bolts, as well as mechanical parts. You'll also see some that have a crystal symbol, which if you're in the lower zones, you're just going to get the regular quartz crystal. But once you get to high level Canny Valley and Twine Peaks, you can get shadowshard crystal. And if you're in the higher zones in Twine Peaks, you'll get sunbeam. So that's a really good way to farm crystals. Look out for the side missions that have the crystal reward. For the side missions that have the ore symbol, they're going to give you ore like malachite, obsidian, or brightcore, depending on which zone it's in. Some side missions will also give crafting ingredients. In this example, we got nuts and bolts, but I believe you can also get other crafting ingredients like active power cells, bacon, batteries, coal, flowers, fibrous herbs, planks, quartz crystal, rotating gizmos, and rough ore. And the last type of reward you can get from side missions is the storm chest reward. And from this one I was able to get traps as well as materials like wood, stone, and metal, mechanical parts, and duct tape. Another rewards you can get from side missions are traps. And you see we got a bunch of different traps from this shadow orb side mission. So again, if you're in need of any of these materials, be sure to look out for different side missions around the map and check out the rewards that they give. A couple more things I should point out when it comes to farming nuts and bolts. The best zone is the industrial park, and you're going to want to look out for this area that has this structure you see here with the two pointy things at the top, because this is probably the best place to get nuts and bolts. You can destroy all of these little radio antennas outside. There's also going to be a bunch of barbed wire as well as metal pipes laying around that you can get nuts and bolts from. You'll also want to check inside of the building as well. A lot of times there will be a bunch of items in there you can get nuts and bolts from. You also want to check on the roof, because I notice oftentimes there's a lot of solar panels up there, and each of those give nuts and bolts as well. So again, this is definitely the best place to go to if you're trying to get a bunch of nuts and bolts quickly. Another good place where you can get a lot of nuts and bolts is in the suburb zone. Again, you're going to want to look for this same structure, and it's usually surrounded by a brick wall when it's in the suburbs, and you're just going to want to destroy every item that's inside of those brick walls. And obviously you can get nuts and bolts from a bunch of different other items as well, but I just wanted to focus on these two areas because they give nuts and bolts the fastest. And when it comes to farming bacon, the things you want to look out for are dog houses, can of meat, porta potties, and toilets. And you can also get them from a few other items as well, like coolers, or those little condiment trays that you see in restaurants, and survivor shelters. And these are the items that I look out for when I'm in need of some bacon. And the last thing I wanted to go over were some tips in regards to crystals and ores. Not only can you get them from side mission rewards, mission alert rewards, and from your loot llamas, but you can also farm them in caves. Sometimes you'll see either crystal or ore hanging on the wall, and you can also farm crystal and ore from storm chests, either directly or indirectly from the weapons you get from storm chests. If you end up recycling the weapons you get from storm chests, oftentimes you'll get some crystals and ores. You can also get crystals and ore from chests and safes around the map. You can also get them from loot llamas as well as expeditions. And everything I just mentioned also applies to 6-star materials. As soon as they open a new zone after Twine Peaks, you'll be able to find 5-star materials like sunbeam, brightcore, oxidized mineral powder, carved twine, and efficient mechanical parts all throughout that new zone. And in the hardest difficulty missions in that new zone, you'll be able to get 6-star materials like spectral mineral powder, vendor tech mechanical parts, spectralite ore, spectral twine, and rainbow crystal. And you're going to farm these materials the same way we farmed the previous ones. But yeah, that about sums up everything I wanted to go over for this one. If there's any tips in regards to farming materials and resources that I didn't mention that you think are useful, be sure to let us know in the comments below. Anyways, I hope y'all found it useful, and thanks for watching.